Hello everybody, welcome to our webinar. Sorry for this small delay. I was just setting up everything to make it work, and as always there's something that needs to be absolutely out of the ordinary. So hello to everybody who just joined in. My name is Mike and I'm a teacher for Viz Academy. Viz Academy is an online rendering school that will teach you how to create beautiful 3D renders in less than 7 weeks. If you want to learn more about us, please visit Viz Academy Co. UK, that's our website, or you can also see us on our social media, which would be Viz Academy UK, for example, Instagram, where you're going to see the results of our students' work. And what you see here is literally what my brilliant students were able to create just a couple of weeks ago when we were together. So basically, if you want to become a pro, join Viz Academy. Now, today we're going to be doing a review. As you can see on the screen, right now I've got some of the renders from the previous episode. So thank you so much to everybody that participated, but I also noticed that the last few times when we were doing the reviews were way too long. So today we're going to be talking about just a few selected images to make sure that this is not going to turn into 3-hour long webinar, but at the same time I am super glad to have you. So next week we're going to be doing also some webinars for members, and we're going to be slowly incorporating more videos in a shorter format. So the survey on our YouTube channel is still alive. So if you have any suggestions on what topics you would like me to talk about, please make sure to go to our YouTube channel posts and let me know. You missed Viz Academy, Pamela. You're so nice, and I miss you too. And it would be so nice to have you back, but unfortunately, there's no immediate plans for Viz Academy Point 2. Hello, Wukash. Nice to see you. Hello, Max, Ram, hello, Poor, and everybody else who's just joining in. So we took a short break, I know. We weren't online for a while, but that changes now because, it's my last few weeks before I'm going to be a dad. So I need to make sure that I absolutely use this time to, be a little bit more active on our socials. So guys, again, we're going to be starting our journey with some of the images sent by you. So not every... Hey, Savan! Nice to see you. Okay, so let's continue and let's talk about and let's review the work that was sent to me. So first thing first, as I said, we're going to be talking about just selected few images because I want this to be a bit more coherent, and I want to talk about those images in more fruitful or a little bit more interesting to you manner. So I hope that you can understand that, and for everybody or anybody who didn't get to be in this episode, I promise you I'm going to reply to you or at least email you with my review off camera, so we're going to be able to still talk about it. So today we're going to be talking about Dio's works, Ayhan's work, then Valeriia, Wukash, and Maria. So there's a couple of questions that I want to answer and I want to address. So let's get started. First thing first, we've got Dio's work, and the description for that image that this person gave is a passionate architect with a deep love for interior design and ArcViz. So the interior design part doesn't necessarily fit here due to the fact that we've got the exterior, but something that actually really works, or at least is more important for us in this case, is that is the question posed by that viewer. How can I improve this? I've used Blender and Cycles to build this scene. So Dio's works, let's see. First of all, we're going to zoom in to see any kind of signs of AI enhancement or any kind of wrongdoings. And so far, I must say that I see nothing other than just denoising. So that's going to be really cool. Some of the details aren't necessarily finished, but that's mostly going to be a mapping, and that's not a detail somebody's going to be really paying attention to because the image is going to be viewed as far as well, from a distance. Now, there are a couple of things that we can address, and we should, because, well, the image actually deserves that. First of all is the color composition. There's a lot of elements that don't necessarily fit one another. So if we look at the frontal image and its color composition, it's very I would say bleak. It doesn't it doesn't really focus our attention on the subject, and the subject is the house or this lemon tree. So regardless which one it is, we don't see a clear subject, which is a huge problem whenever doing ArcViz. So we should be either trying to add more light in those areas, even if it's going to be a midday or a little bit of let's say overcast. We always try to give our subject as much love as possible. Next thing is the color palette for the plants and the trees behind. It's really nice, juicy, but why is it better and more interesting than what we have on the front? This is never going to be a good idea to look at your images that way, or at least it's not going to give your viewer the right experience. Now, I don't know if that's a reflection or if that's just a glass missing, but looking at the car, I would assume that there's a little bit of a lack of environment because we're not exactly reflecting anything in front, and that's why the reflection looks the way it does. Because you can actually try to trace the curvature of the car. So if this would be a sphere, right, we can see that the horizon is basically empty. There are a couple of elements reflected here, but those are just the bushes and hedges on the left, while the rest of the sky is totally clear, and this is not what we see above the car. So this would be actually a good idea to make sure that those elements fit one another a bit better. Next thing is a huge problem, especially in Blender. I am not very versed in Blender community and Blender stuff, right? So the thing is that we see a lot of texture repetition, and texture repetition like this in some cases is not a big deal, but again, it's the center, very center of our image, and it's impossible to miss. So that's going to be something you absolutely need to work on. The metal sheets are too slim. We don't see any reflections on them, and at the same time there's a lot of texture repetition. Those frames don't necessarily fit the regular design. I would definitely recommend you to look at some more references for this type of elements. And well, it's going to be coming back to just the fine finishes. There's just no finish on the roofing, and that kind of tells a lot and takes away from the quality. Textures are fine. Overall assets that you're using are cool. You're actually thinking a lot about the plants and where you put them. The leaves are fantastic. The damage is really looking good. So for me, to improve the scene, we absolutely need to work on highlighting the subject and making sure that we can actually show what's important. What's not important at the moment for us is definitely going to be around the house, because those aren't the elements that we would necessarily want to sell, unless it's going to be one of those shots where you just do a cool close-up like this, which is a beautiful shot on its own, and if you add just a little bit of depth of field effect in it, it is just going to look better. So That's definitely one of the options. But since you're working with 1 point perspective, you definitely need to kind of work with it more. So let's take a look at this image, but in Photoshop. And I hope that you're not going to mind the fact that I'm going to be photoshopping onto on your image, because, well, not a lot of people like that. So composition wise, if we analyze the shot, you're going to quickly notice that, well, the rule of thirds doesn't necessarily work in this case. Why? Because first of all, we've got nothing here, we've got nothing in this area, which is fine, but then our eyes will go here, or we will gravitate there, because typically you're going to be looking in a zigzag or in pretty much F type of eye movement. So in this case, we don't necessarily have any of that. This is not interesting, this is not interesting. Well, that's some kind of detail, but also shows nothing. And again, we show nothing. That's fine, but how could we improve this? Well, first of all, we could improve this by either just simply changing the composition slightly, so lowering the composition. So we're going to be tightly looking at the house, and now it's basically showing us only the house, not the environment, or doing the exact opposite thing, but in that case I don't have enough pixels, so we would have to just make sure that we've got the house exactly in the middle, so it's going to be easier for us to look at it, because we need to make sure that the balance between the top and bottom is going to be kept. Is that first render how you prepare or arrange a metallic roof material with moisture? Thanks, Viz Academy. In that first render, how do you prepare or arrange a metallic roof material with moisture? Thanks. So, Jose, or Jose, actually. So in that case, if I would be creating moisture on a render like this, in Corona Renderer, what I would do is I would prepare roof as normally you would for every occasion, but then I would just create a couple of splats using decals, and using scatter, I would just scatter them all around in those areas that I'm interested in, mostly using regions. So if we would be looking at the house from the top, let's say we've got this kind of arrangement where this is the roof, this is the side roof, and we've got something on the side, but this is not going to be important. So if I would be doing that, my first thought would be to make sure that the moisture condensates where it should. So it's going to be in those areas. So this is the type of shape I would be selecting or creating as an include. Also, I would just make sure to do the same on the opposite sides and in around the windows, if that's going to help me, because it's just going to make it look better. And how does the material and object would look like? Well, the first thing I would just do is exactly the same or similar material, or the decal would be set up only to affect the reflection. That way we're going to get a much better result. So composition wise, we in this case cannot do much, but it's possible to just change the ratio of the image to make sure that the top part of the image and the bottom part of the image are going to be similar. But now let's talk about the camera raw filter, and let's do a quick test. What else can we do with it? Because not a lot of you know that we can actually use Photoshop at our will, but, well, you know that, but the fact of the matter is that we can also hit Shift and check what's going to be the auto exposure if we want to. But in this case, I'm not going to be going for auto because it's not going to be needed. First, a little bit brighter because the image does seem to be a bit dark. Next, I'm going to try to salvage some of the shadows because, again, the same reason. Here, some either a little bit different temperature to make sure that we've got a better contrast between our orange part and the bluish part or bluish tone of the sky, and you can already see that the image is becoming a bit more happier. It's easier to look at, and we only played with the tint. Just a dash of green because there's an overwhelming amount of green color in the shot, so I want to emphasize that. As for the saturation, we're not going to be doing much, but oversaturating is going to be a bad idea, but if we actually try it out, there are some parts that look better, and those parts are definitely the wooden elements, a little bit of sky, definitely not the road. So that gives me an idea. How about we actually use this information for us and use some brushes, either brushes or gradients. In this case, I'm going to go for a quick brush and make this brush a little bit bigger for me. Okay, so let's make this bigger and let's brush this up just so I can instantly add a little bit of saturation in those areas. Just like that, I'm not going to be picking or selecting any colors. I just want this to be added in that one area. Look how much better it looks if we have those gradients added using just the contrast and the saturation. It's much better. It looks a little bit stronger, and it's easier to convince the viewer that what they're looking at is not going to be flat. So not overdoing it, just enhancing those elements that are flat. And no, don't tell me this is the way client likes it, because no, you are the artist and you want to defend your art with some of your skills. So next thing is we need to make sure that we understand where the light is coming from. So for me, it's going to be from the right side because you can see the shadows. So I want to add a little bit of dehaze in that area, so we actually will have a bit stronger tone added. Okay, not too much exposure, just a dash of it, and the same type of movement or the same type of exposure control is going to be added on the opposite side, just to make sure that we've got stronger gradient on the sky. So this is going to be just a small emphasis on the colors. Now, still, the composition needs to be corrected, and to correct it, it would be best to just crop in a little bit of image, a little bit of pixels, because that way we're going to be really looking at something that is nice in the middle of our image and easy to look at. We can try AI generating stuff in the corners, but for now I wouldn't say that it's going to be necessary because it's just not what we do here. Can you teach us how to make ArcViz portfolio for a job application purposes? Yeah, sure. I think I can, because that's basically what we do during our training. So I can give you some tips on what to do with your portfolio to make it more company friendly. But one and the best tip I can give you, like ever, is make sure to go to or call up some of the companies in your area. So make sure to ask them ask them what type of people, what type of person they're looking for. And typically you shouldn't be set up just for the gig or freelance. A lot of companies and a lot of studios will want to have an in-house 3D visualization artist. So why is it that important for us? Well, it's mostly because you want to get some experience, you want to get some contacts, and that's going to be the best source of it. So why would you be even calling those companies? Most of them won't necessarily treat you, let's say, won't give you the time of a day, but I bet you that 1 in 5, 1 in 6 of those companies will give you at least some tips. Who are they looking for? What to go for? And I cannot tell you exactly what portfolio is going to sell your work, but I can tell you what will for sure. And that is just getting in contact with companies that may want to hire you, because that's definitely the best solution. Okay, we're going to move on to the second image. Thank you very much, Dio's work, for sending in that image. I hope that my suggestions are going to be at least somewhat helpful. And now we're going to move on to Ayhan's folder, or let's say the folder. I always say folder because I typically am going through that's my render. Is it? Okay, that's perfect. That's so cool. Thank you for sending it in. So that's even better. So first thing that is good and bad at the same time is the usage of depth of field. You can see that what we have outside is so nicely out of focus. focus that it actually works for our artist. But the reality is that we've got two deep dark elements. I mean, they're very, very dark. At the same time, the light is clamped. So do you know what light clamping is? Well, the light clamping is something that we can actually observe in those two. If we observe those two images, you can see that there's no one point in this image that's going to be purely white because it's 70% clamped. So this means that we're never going to see a 255 clean white color, and because those were cut by approximately 25%, 20% out of the whole 255. So yeah, it's basically 20% of color information lost. So that's a big problem. And why does this happen? Typically, it's just going to be one modifier on top of another in our video frame buffer. So what's happening here? I'm betting that Nucleus actually used the Reinhardt color clamping or color correction, highlight correction. I don't remember the name of it. It's just that once we do that, some of the information on the pixels will be lost, and this is also showed in the histogram. That's basically the thing that we can also go back to our camera raw filter and just move this thing all the way to the right up until the biggest whitest element of all almost touches the right side. Also, if we take the same thing and take away from the left a little bit, we're going to see that there's more than one place in the image that was extremely dark. We cannot even salvage the dark out of it because it's just too darn dark. And you can see that if we zoom in here, we see nothing, and that's basically going to be just us having black area that's basically as bad as having a burnout in our image. So to fix this, we could try just a very cool trick that you add a little bit of this output level. So the color black starts above 15 or 25, so you can see that there's a bit of that foggy effect, but we're going to clamp that fog effect by adding a little bit of those pixels from the opposite side. And I know that probably your mood or your idea for the image was a little bit better or different, but we need to make sure that we can highlight the full spectrum of our RGB. Not always will it be needed, but to really have the contrast, we must make sure that the histogram is going to make sense. So no critical values on the left, no critical values on the right. Also, absence of both is not going to be a good idea. We should have more or less balanced image. So some elements were just too dark. Overall, the idea of the image is fine. It's a study, it's clean, and well, it's just a practice image. From what you said in your post, I just modeled the desk. I used references for practice. After that, I decided to model a room around the desk. Any feedback and or suggestions for improvement will be appreciated. So this is again going to come down to, well, you're practicing. I appreciate that, but you basically need to also check the distances of typical windows in your area. Not all windows are going to be at that level. Typically, the window is going to be basically at the level of the desk, pretty much there, but also depends on the area you're from. And from your name, I can actually tell that you're probably Turkish. So the standards there are very similar, I would say. But now let's talk about the technical part of your image and what elements are strong in it. First of all, well, there's one thing that's too strong, and that is the bump value in your wood material. Please don't abuse it. You don't need as much of it because it's not only going to result in a little bit longer render, and by a little bit I mean way longer. Imagine that Corona as a rendering engine. won't have a lot of problem just rendering a flat surface, because now light reflects and we're all happy, right? So it looks kind of cool. But if you're going to add a very excessive bump, as you did in here, well, we're going to have something like this. And now if the light rays are going to come down, they will just do a hoop-de-loop, and well, those lights are going to have a really bad time reaching our camera, because we first need to bounce around those areas. And this is definitely going to be a bad idea to overuse the bump. Some people say that bump is the most important and the most valuable roughness map that you can add, but for this kind of scale, I would definitely go for lower bump and stronger roughness map instead, because that's going to give you a similar or a comparable result, which is going to be definitely something to be happy about. So just from the technical standpoint, the chair is levitating while the desk is basically melted into the floor. It's either very sharply standing on the floor, or those legs are in the floor. So I cannot tell because the rest is just too dark. Now the bump. We're lacking a lot of detail in the windows, which could be fixed, doesn't need to be, but with the amount of free assets that we have right now online, it shouldn't be an issue to download a little bit better frame for the window. Overall, really cool usage of light, a nice usage of depth of field. I would probably try to add something in the mid distance, so it's also going to be easier to understand for somebody who's less, let's say, skilled in artistry of photography, so it would be just a better idea. Hamek, how are you out of nowhere at this webinar? Well, I had to create it because, well, I'm back, and this was a little bit of a, let's say, a small holiday break that I was making, or let's say a small vacation. So just as everybody else during their free time, I was renovating my house. So yeah, painting. I learned how to paint a house. I should have made a few posts about it, but I didn't want to be too cringy. Hello, Mike. Mansoor from Kerala. Okay, that's the first time I hear this combination of name and place. I was for members only, I think. It was for members only, I think. No in between for members webinars. I was just taking a break. Were there images pre-selected, or can I post mine now? Well, the images were pre-selected because I wanted to have something to talk about, and I wanted to talk about specific type of topics, and that's why this image is in. So we can actually kind of maybe squeeze in something for a couple of words, but it's I don't want to make this too long. Renovated man, Mike, I know, I need to, but it's just that it takes so much time and effort, and you know what? It costs money. By the way, sign up to Viz Academy Go UK. Okay, let's go ahead and continue because we've got plenty more images to talk about. Okay, so this simple image, by the way, to improve this image, make sure to avoid clamping. Also add some objects in between, work on the details, and make sure the finer elements are definitely going to be taken care of. Don't abuse the bump, and then the image is going to be fine. Also, look at some more references because obviously the composition could be a bit richer. Regardless, very good job. Same here. Now let's go to Valeriia. So Valeriia has sent me some of her work, and now I picked just this one image because well, she works for an interior design company, and this is one of those things that I must say I love seeing because Valeriia has sent images to me a a couple of times, and this is us showing her work for the first time, but you can actually see some progress in between those uploads. The thing is that we need to talk about what we see here, and this is something that also is very important. She works in the industry. This is the level acceptable, and this is the level you guys should be achieving to also be part of the industry. So obviously there's always room for improvement, but she represents a really nice level. So there also will be a couple of things that we might address. First thing that kind of stands out to me is the perfection of the mirror. We should always make sure that any kind of glass-like or water-like surface is going to have at least a moderate amount of distortion. I'm not saying that we should add a lot of it, but this might be confusing for the viewer, and sometimes it's, well, that's the point of it. But in this case, I'm pretty sure that to make sure that this looks a little bit better and a little bit more, oh, here it is, and a little bit more understandable, we should have those smudges. Just a little bit of distortion would help a lot. And I'm not saying, again, that we should be distorting everything as if we would be dealing with some kind of bad design. No, I'm just saying that smooth and very simple noise in the bump would go a mile. So instead of having a perfect mirror that's going to be reflecting everything around us in a perfect manner, so let's just make sure that it's nice and flat. So the way I typically do mirrors, if they're so big on the wall, is, well, kind of weird, but bear with me. Let's go for 1 meter by 2 meters. Convert this object to a poly. And we're just going to make sure that we do one thing. We first set this whole thing as ID number 1. Where's the... It always happens during the live streams. Everything just resets and repositions for some reason. So we're just going to set everything as ID number 1. And now this is going to be my ID number 2, just one surface at a time. And why do we do that even? Well, it's very simple. I do have some of my presets as for glass, for mirrors, and so on. So my preset is extremely simple. Oh, in this case, I'm just going to swap-a-roo those colors. Swap, and here it is. So how does it work? It's the ID number 1 that's going to be the glass of your mirror, and then there's ID number 2. So what's even the point? Well, the point is that we are going to have a lot of small elements, let's say, poking at our window or our glass, and we kind of want to have that detail taken care of, and we want to have more realism in our shot overall. So we're just going to add it as we go. But we also will be talking about the perfection of the mirror itself. So first thing first, let's make sure to go to scene, add a little bit of single map, and in here I'm just going to select any HDRI to make sure that we see something. So if the glass is going to be just perfect, oh, that's way too much. Wait a second. So okay, the abbey needs to be taken care of. So let's dispersion off. That's just the crystal. So the first thing is that by adding this small detail, you can see that we're now gathering more light in the crevices of our mirror. Without that, the way it would look like would be kind of boring, because if we don't have any glass shown, you can see that this is just metal and it's a flat metallic surface. Well, metallic surface on its own doesn't mean bad, but then we're going to do the following: randomization map and noise. In this case, this is a preset for randomization map with a noise map size 15 that we add to base map, and instantly we're going to see something like that. Modern art, behold, right? But that's way too much. That's way too much for us, because this is something that I use for small bidets or some elements that are just smaller to make sure that the distortions happen. But what do we do with that? And why do we even bother with corona randomization map, mesh element instance, -111 360? Because it's the best. 150 on a mirror like this, and suddenly we've got good distortion. So still too much, I know, but now I'm going to make sure that we go for 0.05 or similar value, and we could probably see one very important aspect of it. It's no longer reflecting everything 100% perfectly, and that's basically what I wanted to see in the first place, because now with those smallest of the smallest distortions, the overall idea of the room is still going to happen, but there's one super important thing that's happening, especially. Hello, Nikaki. That's nice. It's nice to see you. So let's go to array. Let's add just 0 here and 5 here. So now with each consecutive glass, if we look at it, now you're actually thinking that you're looking at glass mirror, not some kind of weird distortion. And you can see that looking through the mirrors, those react the way they should, distorting the elements. Still, for some of you, for some of your tastes, this might be too much and too big. So we're just going to change this to 100. Hey, Adrian, my God, it's so nice to see you. Missed you too. We're going to start adding more content soon. A lot is prepared for you guys. So again, the thing is that if we look at any framings, any lines, it should always be that the line kind of misses the mark, just 1 millimeter, and that's going to make it look so much better. So in Valeriia's case, there's just too much perfection. Everything is just too perfect. And instead of having thickness for the glass, we actually have a metallic wall that has some kind of indents that don't necessarily look good. Also, Valeriia, you know very well that nobody's going to bring a 5x5, 3x3 even, a piece of a mirror into one place. There should be some kind of cuts, and you should be planning ahead for those. Beautiful control of your lighting, very nice textures, everything looks nice in here. So I'm not going to be judging too much because you're already a professional, so that one element strikes me, and I think we should work on that. But overall, the image and the design is just working. I would definitely recommend you to do a couple of close-ups with nice depth of field, and some animation probably would be a good idea. And by the way, what's that? What's that? Do we have spiders in there? Or is this just one of those plants elements that just went rogue? Overall, really good job. Congratulations, Valeriia. So you want feedback? You got it. So I hope that, well, that you're going to like it. Now, this time, as I said, we're going to go just through a couple of images, but yeah, I didn't say that we're going to just do, well, 1 or 2 images in total, because Wukash has sent us a couple of images, and I've seen you online, Wukash. So by the way, you didn't ask any questions, so I'm just going to treat this as oh, yeah, so Wukash Ciesielski wants feedback. So in this case, we're going to talk about this image. And first of all, I don't know what the order of images should be, which one is the correct order. Obviously, there's going to be a slight distinction between images of this dome and images of that dome. So there's definitely going to be those are two distinguishable projects. I worked on similar project some time ago, and I must say that this is very demanding. So I kind of understand why you would like to have some feedback. Now, Let's start with this one because it's immediately showing us a small but kind of significant issue: horizon. If we look at your image, it's again not bad, it's good. But if we trace our X lines, so it's just here, and that's the one. So it basically goes here, right? So if we go for Y lines, so that would be here, and we're just going to go outside, and this would be kind of here. I'm just going to improvise. So this is not a good way of telling where the horizon is, but the thing is that the horizon is kind of in this area, and we see it, right? But this is not how we would see the horizon behind the mountains, unless right behind those mountains there would be a huge amount of seawater. But then again, it cuts very shortly. So in reality, we would have to shift the horizon a little bit for this image and give this space some additional detail, because without it, it's just as if we would be taking image or a shot of something that's a little bit skewed. We're looking up and everything is falling. That's why the horizon doesn't work. This is part of the project with two types of faces. With each subsequent implementation, I had more of fun. Well, the project is really fantastic. Big props on what you did with the scatters and the volumetrics. Beautiful. I'm not a fan of shift into those plans, because this is just too much for me. I would say it's just too strong, but it's really great. The color composition is fantastic. The textures are fine. There are some small details that you probably could work on. The best way of getting rid of such elements is just using Corona slicer material and just protecting the planks from the plants. Now, the thing is that each image is very strong, but then again, it has something weak in it. For example, something that nobody ever knows about or notices is that if your UVW map flips XYZ, or it's just going to be a mirror, the shingles, the sexy shingles in your area will actually go flip as well. So the normal map mirrored is going to do the indent instead of bump outside. That's what we can see on your image happening right now. I know there's a lot of work ahead of me with this with the background. There is, but there's also more. Your randomization maps aren't matching. You can see that the randomization map, I can tell that the randomization map that you're using was added just for this displacement or just for the bump, but it wasn't added for the diffusion, or vice versa. Only one map is randomized, and it shows because the bumps do not fit one another. So you have to make sure that it follows up. A little bit strong on the smoke side, but then again, it might be just 5 a.m. in the morning, and well, 5 a.m. in the morning, like there's 5 a.m. at night. But yeah, you can actually see that it's definitely going to be a good thing to improve the overall resolution of your noise and volumetrics, or just stamp it in Photoshop, because on top of every volume that you created, you can also add a little bit of a map in Photoshop. I know it sounds kind of meh, but if we just go for Viz Academy, let's take smoke on black background. If we take something like this, right, or that, whichever it is, you can just take one image like of those, add it in, scale it up to the right size, just put it so it has enough detail, then change the blending mode to screen, and you instantly, although you didn't have that detail in your map, you're adding this in for free, and it's not going to be working against what you created so far. It's just going to be emphasizing those elements that you've added already. So it's going to just add that extra detail that you didn't even know that you're missing. Because your fog is very low, we should also see more foggy appearance on the discovery of a volume changed my life. Yeah, volumetrics are amazing, especially for projects like this. Now, I'm not a big fan of those mountains because there's something going on with them that I can't really put my finger on it, but those do not fit the overall tone of the shot. Maybe they're just too smooth, maybe they're just too sharp. There needs to be a similar noise level as you see here, because that would really make it better. Now, let's go for the next image, and now the third one is basically having the same issue. It's good, but the horizon is cutting, and we should have something. I know on the mountain, at the mountains, we kinda can forgive that because we cannot tell if there's no slope just cutting or whatever. So I'm going to forgive that. But this needs way higher quality smoke, and the generic level of bloom and glare just doesn't fit the overall quality of the shot. Next thing is work on the tree. The tree in this case and this tree, they're just too dark. And considering how beautiful you tried making this image, and you succeeded for the most part, I think you can do even better color-wise, brightness-wise, and fake a couple of translucency effects. Place a light in here and make it shine only onto this tree, so that there's a little bit of volume going on here, a little bit to additional elements. So Wukash, oh, we got two guys who named Wukash in the audience. Nice to see you, Wukash. So the flat does look the sky does look flat, I agree, but in the second image it actually fits really well. But the problem is, and that's a subtle one, which we cannot pick up on easily. See, the blue tone in here is a little bit turquoise, and we need to have exactly the same or even stronger bluey tone above, because that color doesn't come just from the ground. So it's definitely going to be better to make sure that those colors match. Then, since we've got such a strong blue tone, again, you should be taking this to Photoshop and just adding this overwhelming blue tone to your shot. It's a beautiful shot. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that we can make it a little bit better by improving the blue tones. And if we also change the hue, not the hue, but just actually the hue of the end saturation of the sky, is going to help us a lot. I would definitely work with some additional dehaze on the sky to just make sure that it shows the additional vastness of this shot, because after all, we do have the fog, so we need to follow that. We cannot just leave this with perfect weather. There has to be something going on. A little bit of clarity to clarify the elements, and now we're going to just move towards the bluey tone, just a little bit stronger. So that's going to be perfect, and we need to make sure that those two match. So that's why I kind of tried matching those. And remember, if we've got such an overwhelming amount of blue that the mountains are blue, make sure that partially your shadows are also blue, because look what happens here. We've got orange warm tones and blue tones in here. We need to make sure that this is consistent. We need to make sure that those colors are consistent everywhere. Randomization of your rocks didn't play out well. The textures do seem to be a bit muddy, so work on that. There's a lot of assets to be downloaded, but then again, it's going to come back to just the trees. So in this case, I'm going to go back and select the camera roll filter, and we're going to just go ahead and jump onto the nether gradient. In this case, I'm not going to be going for let's go for radial in this case, and radial gradient in that case is going to help us a lot by making this stronger and shifting the tone a little bit, just so we can fit the overall tone of the image better. You see, now without and with. I'm over exaggerating, I know, but we're just going to make sure that it's slightly more greeny, slightly more bluey, and this way we're going to fit the image. We're no longer introducing new tones into the shot. We're working with the palette that we have. Also, for shots as beautiful as this one, why is this not in the depth of field effect? Please make sure to add just a glimpse of it. It doesn't have to be strong. It's the subtle effect that you are going for that would help here. Overall, I love your images, but now let's talk about the second part of this dome or spherical shot. Now, that's what I would like. The nice reflections are overly distorted. I love that. It's looking good. It makes a lot of more sense when you explain it. Thank you, Wukash. Well, what can I say? I like being well, glad this helps. Okay, so same idea with the colors, same idea with the brightness. We already talked about the darkest dark colors in the previous folder, but you basically have the same thing. If you can look at any spot in your image and it just zoomed in, it looks totally black, and you're not even that close zoomed in, that means that you have to work on the histogram. You must make sure that some of that detail is salvaged. You absolutely need to add some fake lights, some additional elements to never ever allow too much darkness happening. Even if we're showing dark places, you want to have gradients, contrasts, and highlights shown. Reflections are looking fine, but it's overly lacking detail, and here I would probably say that you went easy on yourself with the textures and displacements. That's just something you're going to be working on. Same thing with the depth of field. Tell me that it wouldn't look better if some of those plants would be actually blurred out. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But again, nice bluey tone. Where is it here? Either the sky is wrong or this is wrong. And because you've actually captured the idea of the blue background, you should also add the sky volume, which would essentially help us with faking the depth in your image. Well, not necessarily faking, because it's a very nice image, but what I'm saying is that we would emphasize the depth. Even if a tree is going to be 20 or 50 meters away from you, you're already going to see the sky volume in front of it. So let's see. Let's just go to the browser, references, and let's go 3 in the distance. Okay. Okay, so the thing is that if we're looking at something, or trees in general, you're going to notice some very cool property. First, the tree that's the closest to you is going to be the most vibrant, but a tree just right behind it is going to already have a small amount of volume on it. 50 meters further, more and more and more. And in your case, you're not adding any volume at all, and because of that, we've got a very sharp cutout to our environment. You can see that everything is cool, and then boop, it just jumps. So you can use the Z depth map for that, or you can activate an option in the Corona Sky, which is very simple to activate. Maps, Corona, then we go to Sky, and we then select the volume effect. Done. Nothing else. Just play with the altitude and turbidity. Now, when you're going to be rendering something that's further away, it's going to automatically gain a little bit of that volume. It really, really, really helps, and I would say that it's going to be helpful to you, so please do consider that. This one, I just added it in because in here the horizon is just missing. We've got fake-ish clouds mixing with the background, and the noise levels do not match. So I would say we need to work on this as well. Translucency, sir. Translucency, sir. How can we have small waves next to the boat? I can guess the answer. So if you want to have the nice nice looking waves, there are two ways of doing it. Either we're going to use decal around it to just make it happen, or we can try if you're going to have too much time on your hands, you're going to simulate it, but that's not happening. Typically what I do is I use a little bit of distance mapping, but the distance mapping isn't perfect at the moment, because if we're going to have a surface, in our case, Adrian, we're going to see something like this. We've got this, and then we're going to have a box, a bit of that. So if we submerge those inside, we're going to be quick to notice that it's very hard to add any kind of geometry node or anything that would help us understand what's going on. Unfortunately, to create this based on modifiers, we would have to really play around with a couple of let's say dependencies, similar to what we did during task 2 with the morpher modifier. But typically what you can also try out is going for the corona distance mapping. Where is that? Okay, I had my mouse on it. So here we go. We distance ourselves from this thingy, and distance scale. Although there's no one way of reading the normals of objects when they're next to one another, there is a way of adding those waves, but the easiest thing for me would be to just stack a couple of distance maps with different values, because it's just going to be the easiest thing ever. And it's a little bit a hunga-bunga type of solution, but it's definitely going to be better to do it that way, because what you can do is just increase this value a little bit. So we're going to have a stronger element around our object, right? So in here, if I now go for near color and add it as a general, I can fake the flatness, or fake, far color, right? Yeah, so I can just fake a little bit different effect around my boat. And if I, let's say, do just 2 or 3 levels of this distance with different values, I can just go white, black, white, black, white, black. It's not perfect, but it's just 4 levels, and it's enough to fake or make it look a little bit more interesting. Also, adding a bit different distance scale is going to be helpful, but in many cases, it's going to be dependent on the map size or the exact mapping, so it's not always going to be perfect, but it's best to just make sure to have those couple of maps mixed in, and it's going to give you those nice weights around it. Again, it's a bit of a hunga-bunga type of method, but it works, and I'm going to give you a better one. Just wait till the next webinar, because I want to spend some time on it. Okay, the car, perfect, nothing to talk about it, just a little bit plasticky, so definitely more contrast. Same problem with the glare, and now the last shot. Again, we're missing the horizon. Here we can actually trace it even better. If we just trace this line and this line, we can actually say where the X would be, right? So potentially this is where the horizon would be if we would actually be looking for it. I can even kind of almost prove it to you by tracing this line, but I'm doing this very imprecisely, so I'm just going to assume that the horizon line should be somewhere around here, and we don't have that, so it's a very sad day for us. So overall, very cool, very complex, and very creative shot, so definitely there's a little bit of room for improvement. Love what you do with the volumetrics. Keep adding more of it and work more with that, but you also need to increase the quality of it, because it's just too low quality, it's just too je ne sais quoi. So we need to make sure that it just has a bit more iterations and a bit lower number in the volumetrics when it comes to the voxel size. So the voxel size and the volumetric is here, the step size. So it's not the type of step bro thing, but if we go to inside volume, go for 50, 100 is what I tell students to do for semi-distanced cloud. But in this case, you try slowly going for smaller values, and when adding your absorption map, make sure that it's going to have more iterations, or just use a more complex one. Or what you can also try out, Wukash, is look for a pre-made clouds that are already a volumetric VDB files. You cannot beat that. There's no better quality than that. Okay, how can we hard first time? I wouldn't say it's hard. You did a really good job, and you know, you cannot improve if you're not going to get some criticism. So I wouldn't. One thing is very important. Everything I said was from an angle. You asked me for criticism, right? Look at that. You said that. I want feedback. But because of that, I gave you the feedback. But you also need to understand that there's a lot of positive stuff in your images. There's a perfect balance of colors. There's a lot of amazing lighting. The idea, composition, the creativity, they're all there. Now we need to just polish those to make them look better. There are some details that we can just take into account as our new norm, and once you treat that as your norm, so you now know that this bluey tone should be your norm. This is no longer going to be a surprise to you. So if that's the case, it's just going to be easier for you from now on. And congratulations, Wukash. Now we're going to the next folder, and that is Maria's folder. So thank you very much for sending your images to us. This is also going to be the last portion of images for today, and we're going to be looking into that bedroom, and we're going to be looking at that kitchen. So first, let's start with the bedroom, and let's say one thing. You abuse the bump just a little bit too much. It's not bad, it's just too strong. Also, typically you should be adding the value of your bump at minus instead of plus for this kind of furniture. That's try it out. I promise it's going to look better, because right now you're pulling out the brighter spots of the wood grain, while in reality you typically will see that those are going to be slightly indented, and you will get more detail out of it thanks to that. Also, there's a little bit of denoising, losing or killing some of your detail, so there's a lot to talk about that. You need to render some parts of your image for a little bit longer, or lower the amount of bump you're using. Now, what's definitely going to be amazingly strong is your texture game. That is really looking good, but there's something in the texture itself that kind of rubs me the wrong way. The texture, just the tiling is just not perfect, and because of that, it's either you not working with any blending, or there's no randomization, or this is intentionally, you're just intentionally messing with me, because this is a very high quality image. Look at the detail, guys. That's not something you normally see. This is probably some kind of product shot that you would be doing either on a very specific, for a very specific clientele, because we're showing a lot of detail here, and this is emphasized too much. I'm not sure what would be the product, but I like it. Also, there's a small distortion in the glass, which I love. Then you can see that there's, again, that small distortion that's either due to the smoothing groups or just lucky us. Perfect work with the materials, love it. But again, zooming out, we have a totally different material. That's no longer the same texture. I don't know where the inconsistency in the texture color or choice is, or why did it even happen, because I don't believe that the render quality just dropped. It's just that either that's denoising, or there's some kind of other issue going on. So maybe we just change the texture because that was more convenient. The details on the ceiling, basically perfect, nothing to talk about here. I don't like the fact that there are some areas that are just purely black, and some areas also are slightly too dark. I wouldn't say they're reaching the point where I'm going to be very icky about that, but it's definitely a super strong image. Lack of background with this quality and this level of imagery, it's just unfair to the viewer. You should be adding something. I mean, like something. Also, the distorted texture here just ruins the effect a little bit. So those are elements that you should be taking care of. And I know that you probably will think that it's something like, I don't know, this is what the client likes. And yeah, just change your clients. I don't care. Just correct that. Because in this case, it's definitely just you using a too high value for the inox texture. And the distortion is really visible, while we should be relying mostly on the values and distortion of the metal itself. So this should be metallic. This should be inox. And we should be using the value in our material that's going to be Corona physical. Let's change it to metallic, like that. Roughness should be something higher than 0.6, 0.5 even. Okay, and now we take the anisotropy and we just change that. This is the basis for your inox. If you want to, you can go for positive values, which is just going to be exactly what you needed. But you didn't do that. You just went for a clean roughness without anisotropy and overstretched texture, which was the pretty, well, not the best choice. Still, super high quality, probably, I would even say, I dare to say that this is one of the best images uploaded for this session, and I would say that it looks really cool. So we've got two professionals in here. I'm pretty sure that Valeriia and Maria, they're in cahoots, and they're probably from one company even, because they have very similar style. But regardless, let's talk about the second portion of the images sent by Maria. So here, I'm not going to be talking about the design. That's not my part. I'm just going to say that the image looks really good, but there's a little bit of problem with the texture quality. Everything in your shot is cool, but with today's day and age, we can actually upscale our textures, rescale our textures, and fix our textures in a very nice manner. So I would definitely recommend you trying that out. You can see that here, for some reason, your inox or brushed metal looks or has the right scale, while here it didn't. So I'm just going to say that probably that was just a random accident. The textures on the walls are cool, but at the same time, they're very strong. So I'm not sure what is going on here. Okay, we've got something cool, and that's from Warsaw. Okay, that's better. Now, texture quality is still not something I would, let's say, be very proud of. If you look at this, although the quality of the render is very high, and you can clearly tell that because there's so much detail added, like who adds the grounds? But then again, we look at this texture, and that looks like a texture from a video game Doom 3 once it came out. I'm not going to be showing you any snippets from that game because it's very gory, but this looks like a not very good texture, I would say. Overall, very high quality, very good. Just the textures. You just need to work with better materials. It's like cooking a meal with raw eggs. Spoiled eggs, because at this point, yes, it's perfect. Look at that, very nice, very sharp. And then we've got this blurred out mess with, you can actually see individual stretched pixels there. The quality is there, everything is there, but it's just that you're using low quality ingredients into your soup or in your kitchen. Oh yeah, that's a kitchen. Mike. Yeah, that's me. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that you need to use higher quality textures to keep up. Look at that. That's just beautiful. Very good asset. We've got a cool idea with this David. And then, womp womp. Yeah, definitely something to think about. So I'm a 3D designer. I'm an interior designer and a 3D designer. So how to sell my 3D services more expensively? So this is not a good mindset, because Just renders will have a price, right? So renders alone will have a certain brackets. It's like you buying a soda, you know that you're going to be paying some certain amount. There's going to be some slightly higher amount. That's it. But you're never going to see a golden Coca-Cola that's going to just be worth billions of dollars. That's not going to happen. So what do they do to make it more expensive and to make it more intriguing? So what they do is they will be pairing that product with different services, different ideas. That's why it comes with your McDonald's. That's why it's in different spots or on the gas station. So what you need to do to, first of all, make your services more expensive is offer more in those services, because just renders are going to be always just renders. That's absolutely fine. But do you offer marketing? Do you offer design? Do you offer reviews? Do you offer some design ideas? What's going to make your service that extra price tag that's going to give you those extra dollars? Because this is very important, because just render is going to be craft. You just take the render, you use your hammer, you hammer down the nail, you've got a render. That's fine. But then what we want here is the additional value. So virtual tours, some sort of additional assets, color changes. For example, you can help them with brochures. You can help them by contacting the client directly with or help them by putting the elements that they will be able to sell. So that's one thing, but you're saying that you're interior designer. So there's one thing that a lot of people don't know. Whenever an interior designer is going to be adding a chair into your interior, if it's not going to be, please make it the cheapest ever and I'm going to purchase everything out of IKEA, at this point, you kind of don't need an interior designer, you need a decorator. So in that case, if that's going to be a company called Fornituro, they're going to give you a percentage from that sale. So what does it mean? You tell your client, hey, see that chair? Beautiful. And at that point, they all say, huh, that's art. And at that point, you say, yes. And let's see what the chain is. You add the design to, or the product to your design, interior design or visualization. Then it goes to the client, so the big C. So the client says, I like this. So should they go directly to the company and purchase it? Maybe, but they can also say, hey, Maria, how about you purchase that for us? And we're going to be, just sitting at home waiting for the project to be delivered. That's going to be money. That's going to be just money for you, obviously. So this is definitely going to be something that you should be thinking about. Also, if you're going to be, taking care of the order, you also need to talk to the company prior to purchasing. Hey, I'm an interior designer. I did the design. I put your project into the design. Give me money. And typically they will give you from 5 to 15% from just because you came in. If you ever purchase a furniture piece from any kind of showroom, they absolutely can give you the minimum of 10% discount because you smell nice, and that's it. So that same discount that they will be giving is still going to be 20% of their own margin that they're getting. So that's definitely going to be it. So I don't know how much you charge. I don't know how much you earn and how much work you have. So to earn more money from 3D services, there are 3 ways of doing that. Offer more and more complex services, which is going to be basically you becoming a marketing company, or you can specialize yourself and work with luxurious brands. So you're going to have to meet a lot of people and be in a lot of places. Or the third one, scale up your business, because while you're doing the kitchen, somebody else might be doing your bedroom, and somebody else might be doing the living room, and all of that under your name. So this is going to be very important. I'm not saying that you should be finding a cheap labor. I'm just saying that it's possible to, well, earn a living out of doing that. And since you can work and cooperate with other artists, you can also scale up your projects. Because and also one thing that I would recommend to any freaking buddy that's going to be serious about freelancing and gaining clients: make your own website, make sure that your portfolio stands on one or two websites, make sure that your social media is active enough that it doesn't seem like you're dead. And in that case, once those three elements are done for your freelance company, you will be able to attract a little bit more serious clients. Because let's be honest, if your only portfolio is going to be you sending out DMs to people and maybe a small PDF presentation that you may or may not already have created, that's not going to help you scale up. So the fastest and best way of earning more money is to have better contacts. Okay, guys, so I think this went well, and gladly we went through only 6 projects, and I would like to thank everybody who sent their images to our review. I'm going to reply to those of you that didn't get a review or didn't get to be shown in our today's episode, because obviously last time I did a 3-hour long one, and the feedback wasn't that good. So definitely I want to thank everybody: Valeriia, Maria, Ayhan, also Diosworks, and Wukash for sending in their work. It's a pleasure and it's an amazing privilege to have such a nice audience as you guys. So for now, I'm going to take a couple of questions, or I'm going to just try to catch up on the chat. My name is Mike and I'm a teacher for Viz Academy. This type of review is normal for our classes, and we do much more during that, because our training is not just some pre-recorded videos that you need to follow. That's part of it, but we also have online support provided by seasoned professionals that are not only in our school for years already, but also they're in the industry for years. And that's very important, because they're not going to be giving you some kind of outdated knowledge that was used 5 years ago. We all work in the industry right now. We all have our clients. We all have our own little worlds. So this is something that I would like to put a lot of emphasis on, because you cannot learn from somebody who already stopped learning, and we're constantly developing our own skills as well. So meanwhile, I'll make it a lot more sense. Okay, this one was first. How can we make a small waves? Okay, hard first time. No, everything is fine. Thanks for all the tips. Thank you very much. Thank you again, and I'm sure I'll talk about my stuff again sometime. I hope so, Wukash. I hope so. When I grow up, I want to be like you, Mike. Oh my God, really? Giving feedback and occasional jokes. Well, nice. Thank you. Hi, is there hi, will there be any tutorials about urban environment renders, perhaps ways of creating detailed buildings, background buildings for aerial renderings? I think your explanation of it would be very interesting. David, for some reason, you guys come in pairs, Wukash and Wukash, David and David. You know what? That's a super cool idea. I can actually prepare something. We're going to do probably a series on that, because that is a good idea. And urban environment, there's so much to learn, because you can download assets, you can create them, you can generate them, you can create, download, and then enhance them. There's so many options for that. So David, thank you for that super interesting suggestion. Now, next week we're going to do something for, as per usual, part of for the members and part for the general audience. So next time we're going to be doing some interior, but I want to make something super special. So I'm going to be looking for some nice project. And if you have any suggestions, please make sure to keep our thread on the posts section alive, because I'm still looking for new ideas for videos. Soon I'm going to be moving offices again. That's going to be the third time in a couple of years, but this time we're going to be in a smaller office for a second before I move into the big one. Once we move into the big one, we're also going to be doing podcasts. And I know everybody has a podcast, but I hope that our is going to be more about news in architectural visualizations, about the overall health of our industry, and we're going to be also talking a little bit about AI, because that's actually a topic that slowly dies down, but it actually is way more amazing than it was before, but people are bored with it. Sir, in India, the euro stands too high. I wanted to join, but it's very out of my budget. Looking to join from past 2 years, but not able to. World trending, in that case, you can always use our content that we also have available on our YouTube. I try to put a lot of effort into ensuring that our students that join our training will also get a little bit of special treatment. That's self-explanatory. But operating a business like ours is not just us coming along and having a laugh. It just is expensive to run a company like this, and that's what dictates the price. Plus, it's training that I believe, although I'd like it to be for everybody, it's just unfortunately due to the economical reasons, it's just not. So meanwhile, please enjoy our free content on YouTube, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment, and I'm going to help you out because obviously you guys are very dear to me, and well, if you become a member, I'm also going to be able to help you even more. So that's basically it. So this is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for your attention, for joining in, for sending in the images. Special thanks to all the members of our channel. You guys make this thing way easier, and you just help. You guys do help a lot, and I appreciate that. So if you want to become a member and support us a little bit and help us fight the algorithm, that would be absolutely amazing. So to become a member, all you need to do is go to our YouTube channel, which is, well, the one you're watching right now, and that way you're going to be able to clickety-click on the join button. And we're also thinking about, by the way, quick question to you guys, what do you think about not only the members section, but also something like Patreon, where we're going to have a mini version of Viz Academy, like after a few, let's say, well, we're going to have tiers, obviously, for that. But I was thinking about some mini courses on modeling for specific objects, projects, or going through a case study of some sort of let's say commercial work that I cannot really post on YouTube. That is something that I was thinking about. What is your opinion on Patreon like that? World trending, I'm waiting for you right here. Now, this is it for today. Thank you so much. Please make sure to leave a comment after the video is done. Meanwhile, if you're going to spam some likes, I'm going to be very, very happy about that because that helps us. And again, thank you for your precious time. Thank you for all the uploads, and see you soon next week, where we're going to be talking about some cool modeling, and well, we're going to be doing some projects. This is it for today. Thank you once again, and bye-bye.